William Jacobson joins us now from Legal Insurrection, legalinsurrection.com. They have written about this as well. Obama's nuclear deal ticked off DOJ officials and harmed national security. William, I want to start with the basics. You're a man who has a serious legal expertise, and it's why I want to dig in. But we start with this article itself. Politico, who would have thought that they could put together such an unbelievably comprehensive story here? This is damning stuff that the President of the United States, the administration with the Justice Department, worked tirelessly to keep investigations from happening so they could get credit for a deal that they knew was no good.
Well, that's right. It's amazing that the mainstream media can do very serious investigating when it wants to. Unfortunately, this is coming out after Obama has already left office rather than at the time. And at the time, there were plenty of warning signs. In fact, when I saw this Politico article, I went back and I looked at our coverage, and I remember when these Iranians were released from U.S. prison, and we actually profiled each of them, and we did a little bit of digging in who they were. And contrary to the way the administration was presenting it, which is where, there's a prisoner swap and we're getting back 4 Americans, and we're just letting these low-level guys who were in jail go. In fact, there was plenty of information available, if you looked at the indictments of them, that these were very serious people who were helping Iran's nuclear program by stealing technology in the U.S. And the media basically ignored that. They were so enthralled with Obama and so enthralled with the Iran deal that they just bought hook, line, and sinker the Obama line that this is just a regular prisoner exchange, no connection to the deal, et cetera, et cetera. Now, things have come out after that. We now know that the cash payments, that the Americans were not released in this prisoner exchange until we delivered cash to the Iranians. That came out after the fact. And now we know that this was over the objections of prosecutors who were saying you are letting go some of the worst proliferators of technology for Iran's nuclear program.
Now, when you say proliferators, talking to William Jacobson of Legal Insurrection, we're talking about people who were actively trying to procure certain bits of technology for Iran, technology that was necessary for their centrifuges to work so they could move forward creating the nuclear material necessary for nuclear weaponry. So while we were creating a deal to the world and to the American people that ostensibly was going to halt the nuclear program, we were releasing the people who were working on getting the technology to Iran so they could create a nuclear arsenal.
And even worse, as part of that deal, we agreed that 14 Iranians who were subject to, on the Interpol wanted list for nuclear proliferation would be removed from that wanted list. So we not only released several people, we freed up 14 other Iranians who could now travel freely without fear of arrest. And to get to your point, I mean, it wasn't just nuclear technology. It was also the means by which to deliver it. One of these people, I'm just looking at my old profile from January of 2016, Nader Modanlo, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, he was sentenced to prison. He's a naturalized U.S. citizen born in Iran. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison for illegally providing satellite-related services to Iran in violation of our sanctions. So these are not people who provided technology not just that could be used in the nuclear program, but could be used in the delivery of that. These other people, I'm just quickly paraphrasing, 24-count indictment against several others for exporting microelectronics and digital signal processors, all of which were used to be used in missile technology, and it goes on and on. So these are people who were long-time so-called sleepers in the U.S. who were stealing technology to help Iran build its missiles and accuracy of missiles, which would then be used in the nuclear program. So these were very serious players. They'd been indicted. They'd been sentenced to prison. And we let them out. And not only did we let them out, we paid cash to the Iranians. And this was all covered up by the Obama administration. They outright lied about what was happening because they were so wanted that Iran deal. Obama so wanted to be able to say he passed the Iran deal that they just lied through their teeth to the American public. And the media now is doing a job investigating, but the mainstream media basically ignored it at the time. And anybody who would criticize it, they'd say, well, you're just a warmonger, you're a neocon, you want war in the Middle East, et cetera, et cetera.
But
it was really outrageous.
But we must admit, talking to William Jacobson of legalinsurrection.com, is that it was a part two. Not only was there the outward lie to the American people, but you had agents, you had people who work in counterterrorism, all these different areas who would no longer prosecute cases or no longer push cases against people of interest. They would let targets walk away because they found out that the Justice Department and the State Department would not either honor requests for surveillance or for trying to get people to lure people out to areas where they could be arrested. They wouldn't respond. So not only did the American people get lied to, agents who were working these cases couldn't get the Justice Department to say yes to standard things that would allow these agents to properly go after these people. This was happening to the American public and to those working law enforcement.
Absolutely, and that's why this Iran deal is looking worse and worse as time goes on. Iran continues to build the missile technology. This has not shut down their nuclear program. It's placed some restrictions on it, but one of the things that I think Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has said many times is Israel's fear is not that Iran will violate the nuclear agreement; it's that it will comply with it, because in 10 years Iran is relieved of most of the restrictions, and in 15 years I think they're completely off. So Iran is proceeding on a dual track. It's developing the technology, the missile technology, to deliver nuclear weapons. It continues to have its program, and a decade is nothing in time. I mean, think about a decade. I mean, Bill Clinton and George Bush the Senior and George Bush, those were all more than a decade ago. The Obama administration seems to think history starts and ends with the Obama administration. In 7, 8, 9 years, Iran's going to have it all. They're going to have the missile to deliver it, and they're going to have the nuclear program to create the nuclear weapon. And so that's what's so horrible about this deal, is that if Iran complies with it, in 10 or 15 years, they've got it all, and the entire Middle East, but particularly Israel, is under threat.
So here's my question. And when I said, hey, I want to talk to you about this was the question I told you I was going to ask. The definition, 18 U.S. Code 2381, of treason: whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years, and fined under this title but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. My question to you is that does this not... the giving back of these people who we knew were assets, we knew were trying to get nuclear material and technology to the Iranians, working with them, working on getting them planes and other things. Is this not treason as defined by code?
Well, I don't know if it is. I haven't looked at that legally, but I do think it's horribly deceptive. It's damaging to the U.S. You can list a whole things. Now, not everything a president does that's devious and lying and damaging to the U.S. constitutes treason. So I'm not prepared to say that, but what I am prepared to say that this was an incredible deception. We now know that Ben Rhodes, the communications guy on the Iran deal, bragged how he deceived the public and how the Obama administration manipulated the press for this. We now know that the Obama administration lied to us on multiple grounds with regard to this deal. I'm not sure all of it is even known at this point publicly how bad it is. So whether it's treason or not, I'm not prepared to say. I am prepared to say that it's a complete shame, and Obama's legacy is one of deception and deceit.
William Jacobson, legalinsurrection.com is the site. You should go there daily. William, thank you. I'm Tony.